I have to say that playing through this game has left me with a mixed feeling. When I played the first one last year, I came with a very low expectation, and to my surprise, I ended up liking it very much. Yes, the gameplay is rough, but the overall experience is fantastic. As for the sequel, I've heard non-stop praise of how good Mafia 2 is, from my friend and the community in general. Naturally, my expectation went through the roof when I was getting into Mafia 2.
My name is Vito Scaletta. I was born in Sicily.
Have a Caucasian male carrying a large firearm.
I actually have played and finished Mafia 2 over a decade ago. I've pretty much forgotten about it, but I do remember being impressed and fascinated by the world, cutscene, and details.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Who the fuck wants to move boxes around all goddamn day?
So when I finally get to play the game, I feel both impressed and underwhelmed by the overall experience. Before we get into the actual game, we need the game working, and it is an absolute pain in the ass, man. My objective is simple, okay? Run the game with P6 on and decent performance, and boy, I went through several hoops and mudds to finally get this game running. Mafia 1, a 24 years old game, can be played immediately without any fixes, and it took like 30 minutes to get it running in its best possible state. Mafia 2 on the other hand, it took me like 5 goddamn days to get it running. Even now, I still have no idea which solution that actually does the fixing. It is a complete hack job. That being the case, I'll simply throw a bunch of problems and solutions that I've found. Hopefully, it will help you out. The easiest solution is to simply play the definitive edition. Most people can get it running immediately. Problem is, there are a lot of visual changes that hurt the original direction. It also introduces many new problems like flickering, eyeball not moving, worse character design, and many more. A lot of radio songs were also removed from that version. Did I also mention the game size? So if you want the best experience, the definitive edition is definitely not the edition you want to play. When it comes to the original 2010 games, you simply need patience and prayer to get it running, man. Most of the problems in this game involve game not launching, crash after loading, crash during gameplay, crash at certain point, flickering sky, physics not running, stuttering, slow motion bug, shadow bug, and many more. So for the basic fixes, here's what you need to do. First, make sure you have a clean install of the game. Then head to this guide page. Download both the 4GB patcher and shadow bug fix file. Open the 4GB patcher, find your game folder, and patch the executable file. Remember to patch the mafia2.exe, not the launcher.exe. Then open the shadow bug fix file, copy the contents inside to the same folder as mafia2.exe. Now, open the NVIDIA control panel or AMD Adrenalin in my case. Set a frame rate limit to 60 FPS. You can do this per game basis on NVIDIA, but on AMD, just do it globally. Finally, open the game folder again, right-click on mafia2.exe, choose Properties. Make sure all of these are unchecked. I've run into a problem before due to turning on the Run as Administrator and Disable Full Screen Optimization option. This might be different in your case, so try to experiment a bit. As for the P6, this is where things get complicated. The first thing that you need to do is to uninstall all the P6 driver in the control panel under Uninstall Program section. Then, launch the game through Steam. This will let the game install all the necessary driver automatically. If you have P6 driver installed beforehand, the game will stuck and won't launch. And then, just in case, install the game's P6 driver from the third folder in the game file. Now comes the second part. Most guides suggest you to uninstall all other P6 driver other than the one that comes with the game, but for me, that disables the P6 entirely. So in my case, I need both the game's P6 driver and the latest P6 driver. That way, I can play the game with P6 on. To find the latest P6 driver, just Google P6 driver and download it from NVIDIA website. I'm using an AMD card as my main with NVIDIA as my second GPU for P6, so things may work differently in your case. For the in-game settings, I just crank everything to the max but leave vertical synchronization off. I let my driver handles that one as the game's phishing is busted. So yeah, I guess that covers it. I still face occasional crash after several hours of playing, but other than that and a few stuttering, the game is finally in a playable state.
Jeez, all this for 10 lousy bucks? You gotta be kidding me.
This time around, we follow the story of Vito Scaletta. Vito was born in 1925 in Sicily. During his early childhood, his family decided to move to America as a way to begin a new life. They find themselves settling for Empire Bay, a city set in the east coast of United States. Unfortunately, as immigrants without any sizable capital or connection, they end up living in poverty. Vito watches his father working an honest backbreaking job with barely anything to bring home for. Adding to the injury, his father has to die early because of that. During the same period, Vito meets Joe Barbaro at school, a fellow Italian immigrant around his age. As time goes by, they naturally become best friends. Thanks to growing up poor and seeing how people who live honestly doesn't get anywhere in life, they decided to turn to a life of crime. In 1943, during one of their robberies, Vito got caught by the police while Joe escapes. America was at war at the time, and they are in need of someone who speaks Sicilian to assist them in Operation Husky. Vito fits just right in, so he ends up serving in war instead of jail. 2 years later, Vito was allowed to come back for a short stay due to injury. As he steps his foot in the Empire Bay, Joe was already there to welcome him. To his surprise, Joe seems to have moved up in the world. Money, cars, apartment, connection, woman, he has everything. Being a good friend that he is, Joe helped Vito to release himself from his obligation to serve at war, and hook him up with his connection to get a decent job that pays well. This is where everything starts.
So now, I'm wondering if yous are ready to take the next step.
Yeah, sure, what next step?
I'm talking about taking somebody out. Just 'cause someone points his finger at him and tells you to do it.
The moment I stepped into Empire Bay, I was simply blown away, man. Everything from the atmosphere, NPCs, cars, city architecture, it feels so alive and detailed. This is one of those cases where they scale down the map size to fill in details and character throughout the map. If I could sum it up with a word, it's charming. Throughout the campaign, you'll experience the city in 2 seasons, winter 1945 and summer 1951. During winter, you'll see streets, sidewalks, roofs covered in snow. Hot steam coming out of ventilation, people are walking with thick clothing while feeling cold. Sometimes you'll even see people sleeping on the sidewalk. The overall atmosphere feels cold and sort of cozy in a way.
How can these guys stand this? I'm doing this for 5 fucking minutes, I already hate it.
Fast forward 6 years later, you'll experience the world during summer 1951, or spring maybe, I don't know, my country only has 2 seasons. Point is, the world has changed. Everything feels warmer, people are wearing thinner clothing, the sense of fashion feels different too. New car models are all over the streets. It's amazing how the same city could feel entirely different. The NPCs are as impressive as in the first one, if not better. You can see them dynamically moving in the world. Each NPC has different walking animations. You'll see them crossing the road, enter or exiting a car, doing chores and activities.
Oh, hi there.
What's the matter? Nothing good on the radio?
Mind your beeswax, kid.
Then there's the architecture. Every spot of the map filled with character and purpose. Gone are the days where you see similar looking building from one corner to the next. You get to recognize each area as its own thing. It's one of those games where you simply drive around to vibe in the world. Unfortunately, there's not much to say when it comes to activities. I mean, it is an improvement compared to the first game. Now you can eat at a restaurant, bar, modify your car, buy clothes. You can also do a side hustle by destroying car at Mike's to earn money. There are some returning features such as refilling gas tank and purchasing weapon. But at the end of the day, it's still a linear game with a bit of freedom to drive and walk around. The traffic and police system work a bit differently compared to the first game. In this one, you can go through red light without consequence. If you have passengers, they'll sometimes scold you for going through it.
What do you got, an aversion to red lights?
But the police will pay no mind. This is a good thing in my eye. As immersive as it seems, having to stop at the red light during a mission or high-intense chase is just annoying. But aside from that, the police will still pursue you for other acts of violation such as speeding and crashing. Difference is, now things are a bit more lenient. You can pay the cops depending on the intensity of your crime.
This'll help you forget all about it. Thanks for the contribution to my retirement fund.
One thing that pisses me off is that the police are really sensitive when it comes to bumping to another vehicle. I mean, just take a look at this.
In pursuit of a
Hey, how
hit-and-run
is that?
driver.
What the
Roger that.
Hey yo, what the fuck was that, man? What?
You're gonna kill somebody, you keep driving that way.
Say what again?
I'm gonna
You just
find
hit me with your... When it comes to sound, each place has their own ambient noises. It's pretty good. You can hear cars passing by, construction noises, lamp noise, and many more. I also like this little thing where you can interact with stuffs in your apartment and they will give you a satisfying feedback. With all that being said, the thing that really sells the whole experience is the music. The entire experience is characterized by both original soundtrack and classic 1950s track. They will accompany you throughout every moment of story and gameplay, almost to a fault I'd say, as I can feel something is missing whenever I turn off the radio to record gameplay, which means that the ambient noise kinda lacks a punch when not complemented by the music.
Good. I want to see him too.
One thing though, Vito. I gotta take your gun.
Yeah, alright. Here you go.
You can tell that the combat has been massively improved compared to the first game. Now, every weapon feels punchier and impactful. Enemies react accordingly to each shot. The punishing health system has been replaced with a conventional health regen. There's a proper cover system now for you to rely on. You still have plenty of options in your weaponry, but each weapon feels genuinely fun to use now. It can still be difficult at times, but rarely to a point of frustration.
3, 2...
Hey, what the heck is going on here?
Get out of there, lady. We ain't got nothing against you.
Adding to the better system is the P6 destruction. With the P6 on, its destruction feels chaotic and messy. Both you and the enemies can inflict significant destruction to the environment. Yes, it messes the game's performance, but man, this is far superior than any of the ray graphic we have now.
Let's go teach these fuckers a lesson.
What the fuck was that? Money.
Derek can kiss my ass. What's that fat fuck gonna do? Have me killed?
Hey, you said it, not me.
Why don't you give it a try then, asshole?
Gunplay aside, brawling system returns, now with a proper system. In this one, you are being locked on a 1v1 fight. There are various actions to perform such as dodge, light attack, heavy attack, and counter attack. You can also grab enemies when they are staggered, following it with a devastating combo. It's a very simple system, but the animation and sound and staging are interesting enough to make it fun.
You know what? I don't need this chicken shit money.
Mafia game and cars are like two inseparable entities. In this game, cars are much simpler than the first game. Instead of a full-fledged car system, it's more of a simplified version here. There are some returning features such as gas tank, speedometer, RPM, and speed limiter, but the overall thing just feels simpler. In the setting, you can switch between assisted and simulated driving. Assisted driving is self-explanatory. In the simulated driving, handling requires more involvement from the player. The handling can feel different depending on the surface. You need to plan every turn accordingly instead of simply pushing left and right. Car collision feels more impactful than ever. Even a slight bump would cause a headlight or glass to break.
In pursuit of a hit-and-run driver. Copy that.
Dude, you hit my car!
Hey, it's you. How you doing?
Fuck off. Speeding feels genuinely dangerous, as you can instantly die from crashing. It's a pretty good system, albeit a bit too simplified for my taste. I still prefer the first game extensive system, but I guess this works alright. Although during mission, I tend to turn the drive assist on, as chasing or running away with simulated driving can be nuts.
Into double caution jump! Double caution jump! No, stay on road! Sammy, please!
What the fuck?
Nice, ain't it?
The story in this game is presented with a well-directed and well-performed cutscene. Each cutscene does a fantastic job at introducing and establishing each character trait. I like how you can easily tell how each character thinks of each other. For example, whenever Vito is with Joe, You can feel how close they are by how much they put their guard down around each other. Or when Vito is around Leo, despite the power and status Leo holds, Vito can be seen as laid back while still respectful, because Vito trusts Leo like a son would a father.
Vito, thanks for everything, but leave us now. I've had a long, good life, and it's not worth risking your neck to buy an old man a few more years.
No, Leo. There's gotta be a way.
Vito, go.
The same can't be said during a meeting with Luca or Don Falcone.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Falcone.
Vito?
You will meet various interesting characters throughout the game.
Fuck.
Hey, Vito, rise and shine!
Jesus.
Some can be considered your ally, but most are on the gray area, which you have no idea when they'll turn on you. This is a great way to build characters in a mob story, as you are always on the edge. You never know who's going to betray you, or maybe you betray them first.
What now?
Well, this one don't like manual labor.
What the fuck?
From the presentation, writing and performance, you can feel how different it is compared to the first game. One of my pet peeves is that each scene starts and ends too soon, like there's almost no build-up. Each character often talks straight to business, with barely any small talk, without giving time to immerse the player into the scenario. Unlike the first game, where you get to feel the room, place, and situation before getting into the main talk.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes?
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
To me, the first game feels similar to The Godfather in storytelling. It takes its time to build up a scene, building character, setting up a plot, and finally pays off in the end. It is a slow burn. In Mafia 2, however, it's more in the similar vein as Goodfellas. The plate keeps spinning until it breaks, in a sense that there's always something going on. Chaos and action feel constant, each scene is presented in a quick and stylish way, you rapidly move from one scenario to the next. It's like there's no rest time. Maybe it is a preference thing. For context, my friend who preferred Goodfellas over Godfather really liked this game. I, on the other hand, prefer Godfather over Goodfellas, and I enjoyed the first game a lot more than this one. Maybe my lack of enjoyment has to do with that.
Which finger would pull the trigger? Repeat after me, Vito. If I were to betray the secret of our way of life.
If I were to betray the secret of our way of life.
May my soul burn in hell, just like this saint.
May my soul burn in hell, just like this saint.
Amico nostra. Gentlemen, I give you our new friend, Vito Scaletta.
It is unfortunate that this game was clearly rushed. The development was rough, from switching engine mid-development, restarting from scratch, Take 2 being Take 2. You can see in the early game that this is supposed to be something better. I don't know how to put it into a better word, but let's just say that by the end of this game, I kinda feel nothing. Throughout the video, I've been quite positive about this game, because I genuinely think it's an objectively good game with a great experience to offer. I am sure many of you would have enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it as well to a degree. It is just for some unknown reason, I don't really find the entire experience to be memorable. So yeah, that is all from me, and I hope you enjoyed this video.
Things were bad, and they were only gonna get worse. The truth was gonna come out sooner or later. And then we were gonna have Falcone after us, along with the Chinese and Vinci. This wasn't how I imagined it when we were starting out. I dreamed of money, cars, women, respect, freedom. I guess I ended up getting all that, more or less. But along with it came prison, living in constant fear, and the blood of my friends. I ducked it as long as I could, but it was finally catching up with me. It was all just a matter of time.